Come on into the ditch. I'm your resident ditch witch, Tara Tyne, and we're about to get witchy, whether you like it or not. This week it's Heritage Week, and so I thought where better to start than in my local museum. I've been promising a visit back here for quite a while. The folks inside know I'm coming, so I'm gonna just get my mask on. Come on. The museum is located in a former distillery which dates from 1799. The building's an aesthetic reminder of Dundalk's industrial past. It was donated to Dundalk Urban District Council in 1989 by one of Ireland's longest operating businesses, PJ Carroll Tobacco, just before they were acquired by Rothmans in 1990. They'd been using the premises as a tobacco store since the 1930s. Incidentally, the company will be 200 years old in 2024. Strong start. They know how to lure me in. The lovely Ogham stone here. You can see the carvings on it. This was actually being used as a lintel at a site in Ballybarrick, which I just looked it up on the map there, and it's actually literally a stone's throw from Cuchulainn Standing Stone, which I mentioned in the Naveman in a video, but which I actually forgot to put B-roll in of. But I did get some on my phone. I'll stick it in for you now. So these two stones were incredibly close to each other, and as you can see here, the notches that are carved into the rock signify letters, and this was our ancient form of writing. Now, Irish history is actually an oral history, but we do have these and they're very, very cool, and you'll often find that there are Ogham stones at places kind of acting like markers. I don't know enough about them yet to tell you what kind of things that they usually mark, but I think we learn a little bit more about it today, because I think I can see a little bit more up ahead, so let's go and check it out. This stone here is from the 8th century from County Armagh. It's a replica of the Kilnasaggart stone. There's actually an Irish inscription on it here which translates as, "This place, Ternach, son of Kieran the Little, bequeathed it under the protection of the Apostle Peter." So basically the idea behind this, we think, was to claim back what was originally a pagan idea, the standing stone, but for Christianity. So that's, I think, what's going on here in the 8th century. One of the things that I love about this museum is that they have a sort of a replica souterrain. Unfortunately, it's all closed up due to COVID, obviously. You can see that if you go around here, it comes out the other side, and so you get the experience of these places that were used for defense and for storage around the Bronze Age. Kind of disappointed I don't get to go through the crawly hole. Like Dave said, you should always bring a crowbar to a museum.
Always bring a crowbar to a museum.
Christianity. I don't know why, I really just do. Here is St. Mocta's house that we were at recently in Louth Village. And I've just been reading over here about how Saint Bridget was, in some stories, referred to as a bandri, a female druid essentially. Some sources would say that she was that before she converted to Christianity around the 5th century. So here are some Bridget's crosses. These have long since been one of my favourite things in this museum. These examples were mostly made in the 1930s, I believe, and you know, they've survived so well. They're all from different areas, and the different patterns on them, they are all crosses associated with St. Bridget. As you can see by the fact that they're made out of reeds, they're just gorgeous, you know, and you can't tell me that's not witchy. And there you can see we have fragments of a high cross from the late 9th, early 10th century on loan from Dukas, the Heritage Service, who you'll have heard me mention a lot on my channel. And those are the typical kind of high crosses that people often think of when they think of early Irish Christianity. Look at the ring fort, Dave. I want to live in the ring fort. There's a great timeline here telling you of what's happening sort of around the Iron Age, the 800s in Louth, and lovely reconstructions here of early medieval ring forts. Look at this little guy in here, he's so happy. He's a wee Viking. That's a Viking house. Right, is it a moat? Is it a mosh? Moat. Mosh. I don't know. I think I tend to say mosh in most of my videos. But I think it might be moat. But moat has an A in it. I don't know. Anyway, this one here says it's talking about the 11th and 12th centuries when the Normans were building these steep-sided earthen mounds, which is essentially what they are. They're for defence. And this one here is actually very similar to the one that you may have seen on my video about Cuchulain's castle. We reconstructed that and I think we got it pretty spot on. I'm happy with that. That's cool, the impression of the seal of Dundalk from the late 1200s, early 1300s on loan from the National Museum. See it there, the wax in the centre.
Yeah, that's class, hey?
Isn't that really cool? And here we have some of the War of Independence stuff. I don't cover much of that on my channel. Now, I have promised to have a chat about an aspect of it that's very prominent still, and that will be done in a video in the not too distant future, hopefully. But generally speaking, if you want somebody who is as into this period of Irish history back as far as the 1798 rebellion, what I would highly recommend is that you get on over to Easter Rising Stories YouTube channel by my friend Marcus Howard, who knows all things Irish uprisings. You'll also hear my music featured on many of his documentaries. He really knows his stuff. It's a period in history that he's really passionate about. So if you are to get on over and check him out. And I've just come across even more craft, which I'm delighted with. These are actually from Mellifont Abbey, which we visited in our Map in the Ancient Road to Tara video. These are floor tiles dated between the 12th and 15th century. And I don't know about you, but if any of you have ever been to art college, this is going to remind you of ceramics class. I actually have pictures at home of tiles I made, which were nowhere near as well put together as these, but the flashbacks, the memories, ceramics was not my strong suit. These are gorgeous though. I want a house lined in these. I want these all over my kitchen. So it might be time to take the old ceramics back up. God help us all. Look at this. I remember this from when I was a kid. It's a leather jerkin, a Williamite coat. It was worn by King Billy, as we call him, at the Battle of the Boyne. So, you know, mixed feelings about this one. It's a fantastic piece to have claimed ownership, to kind of go, yeah, well, you know, you might have destroyed our country for hundreds of years, but hey, at least we got your leather coat. Ooh. We have some God Save the King material here. It's my mixed feelings about history in Dundalk and Louth, and I know you watching them, if you're local as well, you probably have the same mixed feelings. I do sometimes get people giving out to me for covering the history of our colonisers, but I think it's important to understand where the environment that you live in came from and who the people constructing it were, who the architects of the town that we live in. I don't just mean the ones who actually designed the buildings. I mean, who were the people who designed the colonial structures which held us down for the better part of 800 years here? So whilst I love the Georgian houses, God Save the King makes me go a little bit red mist. Oh, and we've got Beatrice Hill Lowe, who entered the Olympics as an archer. Her father was the High Sheriff of Cavan. She lived in RD House to be specific. And she entered the Olympics in 1908. Look at her there, isn't she amazing? And the medal's pinned on her breast. Up to the next level, and we've got the really old stuff. We're going back about 6,000 years and more here. We've got stone axe heads, we've got arrowheads, we've got a saddle quern as well here, which was used for grinding flour. And this is brilliant. This appears to be a reconstructed cross section of a bog, which is fabulous. In here, you know, you've got really ancient leather shoes that you're liable to dig up in a bog because they're so well preserved. Now I have to do a whole video about bogs, but that's for another day. Lots of shiny things have been pulled out of bogs in Ireland. They get preserved in the peat, and obviously we've got the bog bodies too in Dublin now. I have put feelers out trying to get in to film those. Yeah, it's not looking good, I'm not gonna lie. But if anyone watching this has an in to the National Museum of Ireland, please let me in to film. I'll be good. I won't bring Dave and his crowbar. This is how most people experience bogs these days. These are the peat briquettes that a lot of people in Ireland are still relying on for their fireplaces and things. Families going back for hundreds of years have been cutting the same bogs. Now it's very contentious because, you know, it's meant to be releasing so much gas into the air, and it's also depleting a natural resource. A lot of our best finds have come from bogs. So, you know, there's calls from many different factions to protect the bog, which, you know, I totally get as well. At the same time, you can't beat a good turf fire. Spiritual power. We're talking here about the sites in County Louth which have held strong spiritual appeal. The stone where Cuchulainn died, so that's the one we were talking about earlier. Dalga's fort, so Cuchulainn's castle. Oh, and Lissachigal actually, this is the place that Jock showed me. It's actually, if you were watching my Naveman in a video, if you see where we shot up in the mountains with Cuchulainn, with Satanta, apparently it's the valley where Queen Maeve's army is supposed to have captured the brown bull. That's very interesting. It does feel like a magical spot, but this settlement that was in the center of it was like a stone enclosure. It was like a wall built around all these, you know, ruined stone dwellings. So Jock put forward the theory that bullying may have gone on there, which I mentioned in my Baltana video, which I will link here if you don't know what bullying is. So when people came up to the mountains or whatever to tend their herds, that they may have built, you know, purpose-built structures up there. You know, there's also some very interesting theories about some lines in the soil down there that may have been wheat fields, cornfields, one or the other. Very interesting, but I'll show you that another time too. Oh, this is the one. So this standing stone was taken from a site slightly further down the road from my father's house. This is the Carrick robinstone, and it's funny, I actually, when I was doing my Enniskeane video, the ancient rock art in Enniskeane, I wondered, was there going to be any way for me to get in to see the Carrick robinstone? And all it said was that it was on private land. There were no details about really exactly where it was that I could find. And I don't know if it's, I don't think it's a replica. I think this is it. This is the actual stone, which is incredible. And apparently it's unusual. The shape suggests that once this may have been a curbstone at the entrance of a Neolithic passage tomb. The field it was found in was called Gary na Gorp, Field of the Dead. So some believe it may have marked a burial site. They say it may have actually been brought from an older site and recarved with Bronze Age markings for their new site. It's so beautiful, like, and I wonder how hard it really is to carve those kinds of things into stone. Oh, this is from Merrill. Oh my god! This is where I was in Enniskeane. They've used the same lines from the Patrick Kavanagh poem on it that I used in my video. 10 points for Tara. This is a panel from the Merrill outcrop, just the far side of Enniskeane village. That's incredible. Those are much better preserved and much better pronounced than the ones that we saw. Like, there's obviously that example of the, you know, this really unusual 7-ring one here. I know you're not meant to touch the exhibits, and I really want to touch it. Oh, these are the ones. I actually showed a picture of these cordoned urns in my video with Senan, which I'm going to link here. Wow, I'm linking a lot of videos here. It's great to come here now and see this urn, which was pulled out of the ground so close to, you know, not just where I grew up, but where my father grew up. And these had burials in them. It was a burial site that was dug up. They're from the Bronze Age, and it was during the 1920s when a farmer dug them up. It's very special to see that here. There's like food vessels and the cordoned urns, and wow, what a selection. I remember being a kid and coming into this museum and other museums and thinking that, you know, the pottery was the really boring part. Well, yeah, how the tables have turned. I get really excited by, you know, beakers and pots and cordoned urns. A pottery vessel nearby probably held food for the spirit's journey into the afterlife. Well, that's nice, you know, sending sandwiches with the departed before they go on their long journey. Their final journey, I suppose. I mean, it's very considerate. Pro League Diamond, look at that. That's a great draw, and it must be from Loudiana, from Rice Loudiana. Look at these guys here, look at. We're now in at the Peter Rice exhibitions. Peter Rice was a very famous engineer from Dundalk. The Pompidou Centre he worked on, Stansted Airport, the TJF station at Charles de Gaulle, Sydney Opera House, Pabellon del Futuro. I don't actually know where that is. Peter Rice was involved in all of these, and if you're into engineering, if you're into architecture, if you're into more modern history from Dundalk and how we influenced, you know, the rest of the world, then definitely come and check this out.
Forgot something, Tara.
What's that?
We want the bubble car!
Oh my god, how can I forget the bubble car? Let's go see it. There was a time when a child may actually be allowed to get into the bubble car. Not anymore.
There would have been a time a child would have been allowed to drive the bubble car. Let's be honest. Well in the town.
It's something else. Look at it. Look at the shape of it. Like, it is incredibly bubble-like.
Or what, man?
If ever I decide to, you know, like, rip off Harry Potter, this is the car I'll use. When you have 3 or more witches to transport at speed. And again, we've got Industrial Dundalk now, which is a huge exhibition all by itself. Again, not really on brand, so I'm just gonna cut to the B-roll here. Been a great visit to the museum. It always is. I hadn't been in years. It is much bigger than it was the last time I was here, so get your bum down here, check it out. So I know pretty much every week is Heritage Week here in the ditch, but for Heritage Week, which actually begins the 14th of August, it lasts for the duration of 2 weekends. So I think I'm going to have specifically kind of heritage themed stuff for the next few weeks just to finish out August, because there's so much going on, there's so much I want to cover and share with you, so it might just take me a while to actually get the videos out then to you, but it's going to be a jam-packed month for content. A big thank you to Louth County Museum for allowing me to come in and film today. It was very eye-opening, there was so much to look at, just fascinating. Thanks a million, folks. Hit subscribe for more fun and witchy adventures. I upload every Thursday, you're not going to want to miss it. Slán agus banach, goodbye and good luck to you. This was actually being used as a lintel at a site in I can't talk today. Also where an awful lot of our stuff from history, so technical.